Diegwich, bonjour, buongiorno, guten tag, konnichiwa, hello, and welcome to this brand new experimenting adventure from all of us here at Irish Wrestling Entertainment. We are now in the summer of CM Punk, as I would like to put it. Some would say the summer of the elite. And we're now into a very special period leading up to AEW's brand new flagship show, the very first show over in the UK called All In at the end of the summer. Now, the brains trust, the powers that be within Irish Wrestling Entertainment have decided to come up with this brand new weekly show where we're going to review the week that was within AEW. It'll be between myself, Jerry, Liz, Colin, Niall, and a few special guests, and we're going to do it on a rotational basis. We're going to do something a bit different format-wise as well. Each week, we're going to pick 5 different topics from the coverage of the week that was in AEW, be it from Dynamite, Rampage, AEW Collision, and sometimes we might even delve into the deep, dark, mysterious world known as the Ring of Honor. Now, for the weeks ahead, we've also got shows such as Forbidden Door. The end of the summer, we've got building towards All In, All Out, AEW Grand Slam, and many, many, many shows in between. Last night, of course, we had the very first edition of AEW Collision, and in the week building up to it, there was more talking points than we could possibly imagine. So many headline-grabbing statements from people across the AEW spectrum. So, listen, before we get any further, I'm going to introduce my co-host for this venture, for this first episode, this maiden voyage as such. He is, what can I say about this? He is a man confused in his own identity. And that may be a controversial topic these days. However, he's confused in the sense he hails from the deepest, dark depths of Tyrconnell, Doonernall. He's also residing in a beautiful town called Cove in County Cork. He has a very unique accent whereby he's not quite sure himself where is he from. But listen, it's 2023. He can be from wherever he wants. Much like in the episode of Father Ted, he can be quite an alarming character at times. If a man needs to be disposed of, look no further than Jerry Rush. If your kneecaps, keep an eye on your kneecaps in case you do any wrong. Listen, I don't know what goes on in the hills of Donegal. Jimmy may be winning matches. Jimmy may be winning matches, but this man surely will not be winning any debates this evening. He is the one, the only, the White Bull, El Toro Blanco, Jerry Rush.
Don't call me Rush, it's Rush.
Hello, Jerry. How are you?
What's the story? How are we getting on?
Rush,
what's the crack?
Sorry.
What about you?
Bye. What about you? Good day, Martashev.
Can I just say, first of all, before we go any further, that fucking Three Musketeers thing you've got going on in your face is excellent. I could not pull that off. I just
boredom. I hurt my back on Friday.
I'm heavily Garda vetted. I work in the Irish Defence Forces, so I am no way affiliated with any other military establishment, whether legal or illegal.
Any untoward Republican agenda movement?
Absolutely.
We have no evidence otherwise. There's an episode, Father Ted, with Pat Mustard, where he rings Father Ted in an ominous manner. So have you seen the damage a bomb can do? And anytime I see Jerry cross, that's the image I get in my head. Just no, not to cross Jerry. But joining Jerry on this fantastic maiden voyage, we're joined by a man in his own mind and nobody else's mind. He sees himself as the GOAT of Irish wrestling podcasts and opinions. Again, nobody else thinks that, but he does. He hails from sunny, stunning Stillorgan in South Dublin. He has more terrible opinions than Jerry's had hot dinners. He is, of course, WrestleMob's Mark O'Brien. Me. Yeah! What do you think of that, Jerry?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Whatever happened to the other character you had?
I don't know what you're talking about now.
Weren't you a manager for somebody?
No Inglés. No Inglés. No, senor.
I used to speak a French with that goatee.
Well, je ne parle pas anglais. Anyway, friends, amigos, Cordia, everything under the sun. We're now going to be cracking on to this very first edition of these 5 hot topics. The 5 topics we're going to be discussing today. Number 1, the debut edition of AEW Collision. Number 2, the upcoming Forbidden Door show and the New Japan Pro Wrestling involvement in the recent AEW shows across AEW Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, Ring of Honor, and many, many more. We're also going to be talking about the week that was for the AEW Women's Division. or maybe the week that it wasn't, more importantly. We're also going to be looking at the overall booking and a number of key takeaways across all three shows, be it from a storyline aspect, booking of certain matches, some questionable, very off-the-wall decisions, and then finally, to the main event, the King is back, baby. We're going to be talking about big one Bill Phil.
One Bill Phil.
One Bill Phil. He's not soft like your favorite wrestlers. We're talking about the whole week that involved and encapsulated the enigma that is Phil Brooks, Mr. C. Punk. Now, get cracking into this. Mr. Jerry Rush is also going to be. Somehow I've agreed to this. I'm not sure how, but I've known that I'll defeat him anyway. Jerry,
I've got a stopwatch. I've got a buzzer.
has also
Just
decided
test
to
out.
be-
I'm just going to test this out, make sure. There we go. It works.
Amazing. So Jerry is not only going to be competing in this battle of wits, he's also going to be the deciding vote as to who won the contest. He's also going to be timekeeper and
Unlike
enforcing
Aubrey
time
Edwards,
stoppers as
I
well.
will
So
be
I don't know
refereeing
how I
and
agreed to this.
wrestling.
Well, yeah, that's scandalous. But anyway, we'll
Mhm.
dive into that in the coming moments. But anyway, listen, we might as well crack on to it here now. Let's get a stopwatch there going, referee. You will go on my first whistle.
Ready.
Gladiator ready.
3. Are we ready? We'll go for it.
Yeah. Count me
3,
down.
2, 1.
Okay, so this week, last night, Saturday, was the very first edition of AEW Collision. We were brought into that wonderful, wacky world in the United Center of Chicago by the one and only Mr. Elton John. I loved everything about this. A lot of people online have taken a position like, oh, it's not for me. It's too WWE light. But I loved it, from the production, the lighting, the different stage setting, the investment they've gone into an entirely different outlook, different camera angles, different rampway, different stage. There's a huge investment gone in from TNT. I love every single thing about this as a presentation. I also love the commentary. I love Nigel McGuinness. He's a lovely man. I met him in person. He told me my strikes as a wrestler were shit. Kevin Kelly, I'm a long-time admirer of his, going back from my first time seeing him when he was on WWF television back in 2000 when The Rock took his tooth out of his mouth in a backstage interview. I remember that vividly well, and he's also been fantastic across Ring of Honor, across New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he is a welcome change-up to the show. However, there's one big blemish for the production side of things that really annoyed me at the time. Dasha Corrette, formerly known as Dasha Gonzalez from WWE, when she was introducing Buddy Matthews into her match, she announced him as Mr. Buddy Murphy. Now, that's obviously his former pseudonym when he was within the realm of WWE, but he's no longer there, and he's better off there because he can actually have matches like this. Yeah. So listen.
Well, he had a few matches like that in WWE as well.
Well, WWE shit, so I don't really care.
Yeah, they're not shit like, but for him they were.
Yeah, I know. Overall, the show though, I loved it from start to finish. The only blemish, aside from Dash Corrette's misspoke, there was no show closing angle. However, there was a massive show opening angle. I don't think people have probably realized it was an angle, and it's all a big work. But anyway, that's my point of view. Argue with me if you dare.
I will argue with you. Like, production wise, I thought it was great. The setup looked, way better than Dynamite, 100 times better than, darker than any of the rest of the shows they had. So obviously you can tell from the get go that this isn't going to be a YouTube show. This is prime time Saturday night, main event. To say, like, so they're going they're going all in on this show, and the setup looks fantastic. Great to have Kevin Kelly back on this side, on big stage like this, like, he's with New Japan with Ring of Honor, but to get him see properly back on TV again, like, I used to love watching him. Like, we were supposed to do a seminar with him a few weeks ago and it never got to happen, but great to see him back. Good to see Nigel McGuinness back in commentary as well. I always loved him in NXT UK. He was phenomenal with that, like his time and everything, that knowledge he has of the wrestling industry, like with Ring of Honor stuff, is just phenomenal. Overall, besides the setup and all the production values, I thought it felt like a really, really expensive, well put together house show. There was a lot of stuff there that it's pleasing to the Chicago base, like, Sky Blue, getting the pin, and CM Punk coming in for the hot tag at the end to close off the show and send everybody home happy. Like, there was a lot of crowd pleasing moments in it. Great to have Phil back. Great to promo, back to his best. We can touch on Phil, later on when we go into it. The only thing I didn't like about the whole show was the Wardlow and Luchasaurus match. It just
Mm,
didn't feel anything for it at all. It was just two big men. I thought it was going to be, a hard hitting match. It was hard hitting, but you could tell from the off that there was something up. Like, Christian didn't get thrown out. The ref, he was caught a few times, and the referee didn't send him packing. You just, he's going to
mm,
stay around. And I just,
mm,
I'm sorry, like I just don't see Luchasaurus as a big time player. Wardlow, for fuck's sake, AEW, like, we stop destroying this man's run. Like, this is the second or third time now where he's had a good solid run, not just with the TNT where he went unbeaten before he became T champion. Then they, hot potatoed the title a few times. He has the potential there. They could have set him up perfectly to be the one to dethrone MGF in December, or when whatever it's called, winters,
mhm.
whatever. But now I don't know what they're going to do with Wardlow. Like, he's lost another match. Do they have a rematch and him win the title back again? What's the fucking
Mhm.
point? So yeah, other than that, it didn't really take me out of the show, but I was just pissed off that happened
Mm.
at the start.
Yeah.
Overall though, I thought it was a good show.
Yeah, like I was watching that last night, and full transparency, I was a bit drunk, but anyway, I had a great
Yeah.
time. I was watching that and said, "Why is this fucking dinosaur winning again, and why is he on my TV?" Much like you, Christian was at one stage was climbing underneath the ring. I was like,
Yeah.
"Why are you doing that?" But listen, I was gonna have a nice tangent and a rant within the booking space at the end of this segment, but let's good to have it touched on now. Also, big plus for me, returning talents, Andrade El Idolo,
Mm-hmm.
Miro, both of whom look
Yes.
like unbelievably big stars in their presentation, the storytelling. Andrade told in his match the story of his injury with his pec and his shoulder. Buddy Matthews. Oh, I'm doing it now. Buddy
Mm-hmm.
Matthews selling his knee throughout building to the story of then working in the figure eight. Storytelling. Then afterwards, you're then building into the potential of LFI. I don't know if you're going to be involved in that. Funny enough, Andrade El Idolo, Mr. Rouge, possibly a Duristico or Pero Peligroso, Preston Vance against the House of Black. I think eventually down the line for the
Do we
trio
see
side.
Andrade as a face? Are they going full face on them?
You could be seeing. I'm not quite sure. I think you could like either or. They're both in a kind of a tweener stage. Like the House of Black is very much in that tweener stage as well. Like
Mm.
there's no defined character. Like he portrays himself.
Well,
They portray themselves as people who are just going to beat the crap out of other people.
yeah.
And the fact.
Malachi's more over than the other two, though.
Yeah,
Obviously, like
exactly. Well, yeah, I think Brody King could be over as anything. I think Buddy Murphy kind of naturally
Matthews.
lend Matthew,
No,
but Buddy Matthews
don't
naturally
do it.
lends to be more appeal. I know. But then look at as AEW Collision. There's a number of returns this week, but they didn't oversaturate it. You have
Yeah, yeah.
they gave away little teases for like the Scorpio Sky for Thunder Rose to come back. They've also given teases for who are the two people who are supposedly going to be positioned as two of the big stars going forward and having the biggest chance on the show, Will Hobbs and Ricky Starks. I'm incredibly excited for it. I'm glad to see they're going to be at the forefront of the upcoming um, Owen Hart Foundation Cup
Yeah.
as well. So, listen, huge things on the horizon for AEW Collision. Again, the only thing I wish was if they had a show closing angle by which we
Yeah.
then have something to hang our hat on going into next week and then something to look forward to. But again, as a show in itself, that opening CM Punk promo is the best thing on AEW this year by a country mile, and I don't care if anybody says otherwise.
Yeah, well, it's not hard to know who he's talking about when he's your favorite wrestlers are soft. Like, so what are you going to
No,
do? But
yeah, and
looking at
that's
that
completely
Scorpio
different.
Sky fucking promo that you mentioned earlier,
Mm,
actually, I didn't like that at all. That's the other thing
no,
I wrote down in my
mm,
notes. Is like he said, nobody can beat me. How many times has he been beaten?
mm,
It's just,
mm,
what's the
yeah.
point? Like,
It's just like listening. I was like, wrestling promo, brilliant. Okay, thank you. What's different about you? What are you telling them to me?
yeah, like where has he
Nothing
been? Like,
really ever stood out for me about him. Like he's an athletic guy. He was in a group where they shouted SCU on a
mhm.
YouTube series. Like, cool, but like you're not great at yourself. So when you're 40 as well, and you're a failed MMA fighter. So not really that sold on you. But yeah, listen.
Nothing announced
Going
for next
forward,
week's
there's a huge amount
collision,
of
is there?
takeaways. I liked the no, nothing at all. But the one thing that I did take away huge from the show, it very much feels like Nitro in terms of there's a what AEW Dynamite used to feel like. There's an air of unpredictability, there's a
Hmm.
rawness, there's a grittiness. AEW Dynamite feels a bit loose and lax, and there's a bit of a lackluster around it. There's not the same level of excitement. Eric Bischoff might be the biggest proponent of hating CM Punk in AEW,
Hmm.
but based on his own words on the the presentation of grittiness and unpredictability, CM Punk should be his bloody god, because he is. There's nobody more unpredictable in wrestling. Uh, uh, and Easy E just likes to say things for the sake of saying things just because he's pissed off at Tony Khan.
Yeah, and yeah, I got to shout out his Larry T-shirt, and the whole outside of fucking the arena had the big fucking logo of Larry on it too.
That was really, yeah, it was really cool. And it was kind of the way it was tied into the old Roddy Piper t-shirts where you used to have a panther and thing in the red collar as well. Yeah, it was really cool.
Epic.
But I liked how he came out, and he's very much already gone for. We're going to touch on CM Punk a bit later, but he's already gone straight into the Bret Hart 1997. I'm a tweener. You either love me or don't. Like, where's the lie? Leaning into the stealing gimmicks from Bobby Fish. But yeah, like, this was an unbelievable.
Bobby Fish
show.
is coming back for Collision. Bring him back.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a funny show, like based on the hype versus what was delivered. There wasn't a huge amount of hype in terms of promo packages or anything heading into the show. It all seemed quite last minute. Obviously, AEW have a lot of things going on at the same time. They've just had Double or Nothing. They've got Forbidden Door on the horizon. They've also got all these kind of background negotiations, various different talents, keeping people happy. Yeah, keeping people happy as well. So listen, fair play to them. I thought they over delivered based on in comparison to the hype that was put out there. They didn't seem to put a huge amount of investment even into the CM Punk return packages, which didn't feature on anything on TV until this past Wednesday on Dynamite. So this couldn't have been happier, and I couldn't
see what the viewing figures are like.
Yeah, I'd say Saturday night that'd be a funny one. Like, I think I was chatting to a few different people on podcasts recently that Saturday night is very much a going out night. Like it'd be the type of, if it's in your town. I know the ticket sales don't necessarily reflect that.
That's your that's show you time. Go to. That is time. Time.
Damn it.
10 minutes is up.
That damn crooked ref again.
No,
okay, moving on to point number 2. You can kick us off this one.
Point number 2.
We'll move on to the point.
Are we? So Forbidden Door. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, 3, 2, 1. So yeah, next week, actually this week is well, the next fucking couple of days, so Forbidden Door is coming up, which is the dream pay-per-view. No match, no real match builds, no feuds. Besides, we've got Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, which is potential to be match of the year before it's even started. We know how much we love Ospreay over here. He's been on OTT loads of times, and he doesn't put on bad matches. If you ask Meltzer, like, he's never had a bad match. Danielson, Danielson and Okada, like, something like when Danielson got injured, he's gone from wrestling, never to wrestle again, thinking, these matches are never going to happen. When he came to AEW, it was like, we never know what's going to happen. When he came to AEW, I thought he was going to take it easy. He would maybe have one match a month or one match every pay-per-view. That would be perfect for him and save his neck. He didn't give a fuck. He went full on Danielson fucking from the get-go. And now he's going to have a match with Okada. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with this one. I don't care who wins it. I just hope they beat the shit out of each other, and they're able to walk backstage afterwards, and there's no fucking ambulances. Not too familiar with Sanda, the Jungle Boy match. I'm not really sure what this is about. I don't know much about him. I hope this is something we spoke on before that leads to Jungle Boy turning heel. There is a rumors going around that he's going to turn into Hollywood Jack Perry and turn on Hook. After the match, maybe Jungle Boy loses, blames Hook for the loss, sees the title on Hook's shoulder, decides he's gone heel and wants him instead. Hopefully we get a heel Jungle Boy eventually. I know how Mark feels about him after his escapades in Manchester, but we'll not talk much about that. MJF and Tanahashi. Oh man, fuck me. After MJF, obviously played everybody and said he had no interest, he didn't give a fuck about New Japan and all their indie darlings, and now he's got Tanahashi, the only person he probably respects. And the title's on the line for this as well, which I'm surprised. I thought there would just be a one-on-one match. They don't need the title on the line for this. Like, obviously, it kind of gives it away at the end in a way that he's obviously not going to lose the title to Tanahashi. Is he? I hope not. But like, nothing else officially has been announced yet. It's just 4 big matches. We'll see what happens. Mark, what have you got?
Yeah, let me take over here now, big boy. So MJF against Tanahashi is the huge talking point that I loved from this past AEW Dynamite. We saw backstage after MJF's match with Adam Cole. He was backstage getting checked out by a medic. Renee Paquette comes over to him and lets him know that he's facing Tanahashi. Instead of getting, oh no, I'm not doing that. Oh, how dare you make me do that? Or like, I'm going to kill you, Tanahashi. He's done, no, not doing that. Sorry, pet. Not doing that whatsoever. So that leaned into then his performance at the recent Double or Nothing post-show press conference, whereby Michael Sidgwick of What Culture Wrestling was asking him about what's his own expectations for upcoming Forbidden Door pay-per-view, and he said, "No, they're ring-ding Japanese promotion. No real interest in doing that. You can't make me do it." I loved how he also leaned into the fallout he had for Double or Nothing 2021, or 2022 rather, whereby he just didn't turn up to a number of meet and greet appointments. People weren't sure if he's going to actually turn up to the show as well, and then disappear for 3 months.
Yeah.
So there's a number of different things at play there. Is he doing a Brian Pillman? How is it going to come about this coming Wednesday as the go home show to sell for Double or Nothing? Will Tanahashi be there in person? Will he challenge him? Tanahashi, over the past 2 years in particular, has become less and less mobile. Every match you see him now, he looks like a shadow of his former self. He's now moved from being one of the pillars of New Japan Pro Wrestling to now being somebody who loses matches regularly. Dave Meltzer talked about this. This is why he's facing MJF. MJF's facing him for the world title because he's somebody you could lose to, much in the same manner as why CM Punk and John Moxley were initially booked up against him last year. It's somebody they can beat. That doesn't affect necessarily the standing of the New Japan rankings in order. Then moving on to the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, we have the former LIJ Los Ingobernables de Japón, Sanada, now a member of Just Five Guys, Taichi, Dooku, Kanemaru, and if you were a fan of WWF in the 90s, Kai and Tai's Taka Michinoku. They're a new stable formed over in New Japan. It's been very successful so far. Sanada's abandoned his blonde beard, blonde hair. He just looks like a slick guy, tied back and sides, clean cut look. I saw him at the recent Royal Quest show over in Crystal Palace in London for New Japan. I couldn't have been more impressed. His in-ring work, his how he conducts himself outside of the ring. He's constantly wearing dressed to the nines and three-piece suit as well. He's hugely thought of over there. I know people in this part of the world might be like, "Oh, who's Sanada?" But he's only recently been put into that kind of world title picture. He was previously having worked with Evil as a tag team specialist within LIJ as well. So this is obviously a huge push for him, and much the same reason as to why Tanahashi's been put into the spot for the AEW title. Jungle Boy's been put into the spot for the IWGP as somebody who could lose as well. Jungle Boy's also teasing with Hook. He's teasing us to death. He's a big, dirty fucking tease that he's going to turn heel on Hook. It's going to be the summer of Jungle Hook. He's going to stab Hook in the back, and I hope Hook drops him on his head over and over and over again because Jungle Boy's an asshole and he doesn't take advice. That's just my opinion. I don't really care if you disagree. Come fight me. Following that, then we've also got the Absolute Dream match. Following on from their match at Wrestle Kingdom, we've got arguably, well, there's four of them really, but got two of the four best wrestlers in the world are all on one card. Two of them, you got Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. They had a 6.5 star at match according to Star Maker himself, Mr. Dave Meltzer, at Wrestle Kingdom. And that was allegedly a match where they held everything back. That was allegedly they've been holding it. They decided to hold a lot back because they wanted to make it a trilogy, and obviously then that naturally would lend to they'll go back. So he's beaten Will in his home promotion, Kenny Omega, over in Japan. He's now coming to Kenny's home country of Toronto for Forbidden Door. Will's going to beat him in his backyard, and then will there be a final show over at All In? That's just my suspicion now at the minute. That naturally kind of culminating point. But even though it's a New Japan belt, they're fighting over IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. Will either be
it's all in, like so.
All in or Wrestle Kingdom. I think one or the other.
But All In is All In. It's like All In. The first All In was All In promotion. Every promotion's invited. Like, it's not just AEW.
Spot on, and you got to see Will Ospreay running at the end of Dynamite last Wednesday. Kicked the head off. Will gave him a couple of hidden blades. Gave him a Stormbreaker. Then he was on Rampage, where he had an excellent match with alongside Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher against the United against Chaos rather, when he's representing the United Empire. So he also flew back then to England and had a match today. So he's a man who works unbelievably hard. Then following that, obviously you've just touched on it. Then we've had the Absolute Dream match. We want to see Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. People who think that Daniel Bryan's better than Bryan Danielson are fucking idiots, because Bryan Danielson is a grizzled veteran who will kill you. Bryan Danielson's just a man, let's wave our arms in the air. And he indulged all that kind of WWE stuff, but he wanted so much more out of himself, and he know he can get far more violent. He wants to actually be able to wrestle again, and this is the dream match. Anybody who thinks Kazuchika Okada's passed it, they haven't seen any of his work recently where he's been leaning into that heel gimmick over in Japan, where he was facing Kiyoima from Pro Wrestling Noah. As a couple of times he teased being a heel, working with him down the line, which we're hoping at some point during the G1 the two of them will face off. And we've also, going into the New Japan Forbidden Door, we've also got a lovely, dirty little tease. We've got Zack Sabre Jr. swanned in to a nice little interview segment with Orange Cassidy midweek. He's also teasing working with Shibata and Daniel Garcia over the week. Zack Sabre Jr., of course, the New Japan World equivalent of a television title. He's been appearing regularly on Ring of Honor television. Orange Cassidy, the AEW International Champion. Danny Garcia.
No stranger to each other either.
No, listen, Danny Garcia is teasing one of the face, Katsuyori Shibata, who famously had his brain removed for a while when he actually got a head injury. So I don't know how he's allowed to wrestle. But anyway, yeah, you can look that up. He's a Ring of Honor Pure Wrestling Champion. That's why he's not allowed to wrestle full time as we just pure wrestling rules now. So that's the lead up to Forbidden Door. Do we expect more matches to be announced? Yes, we do. I'm hoping for, I think you'll see IWGP tag titles probably defended against the Young Bucks. I can't imagine FTR be on the show for the AEW tag team titles. I think there's going to be a lot of people kind of division, keeping people separate.
Bullet Club has to happen.
I don't know. I think
I'd love to see Dan Maloney show up.
Yeah, I do as well, but I don't know. I don't know. I think that.
Sorry, time's up. Just as you were about to go into it. Sorry.
This is bollocks.
TV time remaining, lads. We have to go by the clock. We can't go in the overtime.
This is worse than fucking AEW timekeeping.
This is not. We have to go for picture in picture.
Okay. We're moving on to topic number 3. Ready to go? You go, my first whistle, referee.
Go on the clock. 3, 2, 1.
Now we're moving on to a third topic of the evening, AEW Women's Week, and the wrestling matches that occurred within this week, or rather, some might argue the week that wasn't for a lot of the women's wrestling within AEW. We had 4 matches in total. So there was an overlap between the matches. The first match of the week was actually Toni Storm versus Sky Blue. That was the only women's match that featured in the whole of AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. It was a very good match. It was a nice little match where the idea was Sky Blue was being built up as somebody who could realistically face off against the Outcast and be one of the homegrown stars recruit, even though she's quite green in her development. But she did quite well. She had a nice spot where she used her own spray paint. She did a couple of nice spots for near falls where she hit a code blue. Ruby Soho distracted the ref and it looked like it was going to be a win for Sky Blue. It was a routine match. Toni Storm is obviously incredible and one of the best wrestlers in the world. She went above and beyond to put Sky Blue over as a tangible star for fans to invest in and hopefully get behind going forward for AEW in their women's division. Following that, then on AEW Rampage, this is where things get a bit murky. Taya Valkyrie, who used to be a face upon her debut, has suddenly turned heel, which is fair enough. She's a bit annoyed that Chris Statlander's come in, usurped her and stole her thunder and come in, beat Jake Cargill and became the TBS champion. She then faced Trish Adora. So if anybody's familiar with AEW Dark Elevation, Ring of Honor, Trish Adora has been working unbelievably hard in the independent scene and all those shows across AEW. Tony Khan's very high in her, but they're constantly slowly building her up. She's also training full-time with the New Japan LA dojo over in LA, working under Kushida and many other people. This is a very, very good match. Taya Valkyrie, I think, is far more suited to being a heel who can dictate the tempo and pace of a match, whereas she doesn't have to be somebody who's constantly firing up, doing all these athletic maneuvers. She can constantly hold somebody down and work somebody who's significantly more athletic, like Trish Adora, and put her over to the point where it looks like a really tangible contest, and you're also building up another star. Again, Taya Valkyrie won this, and now that sets up this coming Wednesday. You're going to have Taya Valkyrie versus Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship. Will that be the only token women match in the show? Probably. But anyway, then we had the strangest and weirdest booking decision in the whole couple of weeks. Now, there was a 6-man tag on AEW Rampage. 2 women featured in this, neither of whom were wrestlers. And neither of whom have had wrestling matches before.
6-person tag. 6-person tag.
6-person tag. A trios match.
Trios.
You had, hailing from Sandy Fort, Delaware, we had Mark Briscoe, Papa Briscoe, teaming with famed, notorious crook referee Aubrey Edwards, taking on Triple J and Karen Jarrett. Triple J, of course, being Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, because it's Jeff Jarrett's world and he can do whatever he wants. Now, in this match, we had, in a trios match, once a female participant within the match tags in, the opposite has to occur in the opposite team. So Aubrey Edwards would often find herself locking up with Karen Jarrett. She'd have a couple of small interactions with other male participants in the team. Aubrey picked up the win in this match. It was a bit of a nothing match between the two of them. It was great, fun stuff between Papa Briscoe, who's had 3 matches in Ring of Honor previously. So we all love that. But why couldn't there be a actual female wrestler involved in this? Why Karen Jarrett, I understand working on the outside, but why can't they have a female wrestler involved in their team? Why not have like Anna Jay, not Willow Nightingale, but somebody another age profile, so a young star to work along these people and build up their own profiles. Listen, that's just me. That would make a bit more sense than what they did in the end, but that's just me. Then AEW Collision, we essentially had a run back of what they did in AEW Dynamite. It said it was a tag match, but it's the exact same thing. They did Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale face off against Tony Storm and Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho and Willow Nightingale both got themselves involved on a Wednesday, so this is exactly the same, except the only difference between this was a nice match between all 4 participants. Great to see all 4 getting regular screen time and getting a lot of time in the match for this tag team match, and it was a good story told. However, we've already seen this Wednesday. Why does it have to be the same thing? Why does the Outcast story have to be done over and over and over? Why can't we build something at some point? The whole point of the Outcast story was at some stage you're going to build to a blood and guts match where you're going to have 5 Outcasts, be it like those 3 plus Athena plus God knows, maybe Mercedes Moné. And then on the other team, you're going to have the homegrowns. You're going to have Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, and somebody else. And you're going to have a blood and guts match. There's going to be a historic event where it's the 5-on-5 women. That hasn't happened. They've been in a holding pattern for months on end now, and it's boring. Now, it was really cool to see Sky Blue hit the cold blue and actually pick up the win as a reversal of fortunes from Wednesday. But it was really cool for her to get pick up a win in her hometown. Her mother, for some reason, got involved in this match 2 shows in a row. Didn't need to be involved at all. Her mother got spray painted on Wednesday, I believe, and then this time her mother slapped Tony Storm, Ruby Soho. Cool, but like didn't do anything for me. Didn't do anything to get Sky Blue over. They could have left that out of the match entirely. That's my take on the week that was. I hope there's significantly more women's action across all 4 shows going next week, and hopefully there's at least one women's match in Forbidden Door. Even if Mercedes Moné isn't available, I want Tony Storm to face Miyu Yamashita or somebody else, AZM from Stardom, whoever's available. That's my take on the week that was for women's wrestling. Mr. Rouge, what's your take on?
Unfortunately, the women's division hasn't improved as a booking decisions from AEW from day one. It's always been, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. They always seem to bring in all these, people, free agents, and think, they're going to change the women's division. They bring them in, and within, a week or 2, they're going for the title, one of the main titles, and they're losing, and then they're going back to the end of the line, and you don't see them on TV for, weeks or months on end. And it's just constantly the same thing over and over again. It's just, there's no momentum for them. They have so many shows now that they could literally push. Now, I know Athena is getting a good run on Ring of Honor, but, where is she on AEW TV? Like, she is a standout performer that they have that they're not, using properly. Like, when you see other Ring of Honor champions, who are on AEW Dynamite and Rampage, every week or every second week, where is Athena? I don't know why fucking Aubrey Edwards, like it's just a bullshit, horseshit lump of turd match that never needed to happen. Rampage, regardless of their viewership, the match card, if you look at it, from a whole as a wrestling fan, it was stacked. Like, you had, United Empire, parts of United Empire on the show. Like, this should be a must-watch show. When you come in and you start watching it, and then this thing pops up, that's a 6, trios match. This is a trios match. There's no need for 2 trios matches on a 1-hour show, first of all. But the fact that 2 of the competitors in this trios match weren't even wrestlers. I don't know what Karen Jarrett's background is in wrestling. I know she, married to Kurt Angle and had the whole feud with Angle and TNA, and but she's not a wrestler. She's not a full-time wrestler. Aubrey Edwards is just, it's just horseshit, and you wonder why people are tuning out of Rampage. They wouldn't put this match on Dynamite, and it shows you what the AEW thinks of Rampage when they just bump this to that. Nobody wants to see it. Throw it there where nobody's actually watching it. So, if nobody's watching it, don't put it on. Nobody wants to fucking see it. there's so much women's talent. The women's division is stacked. Their talent is phenomenal. They have talent there. They could put on a women's only, pay-per-view or TV show at least once a month or every fucking quarter at least, just to give them something they aim for. And they're not doing it. They're the usual spot, half, in America it's a 9:30 spot that the women's match goes on before the main event, and it's just the same thing over and over and over again. I know they tried. They had Britt and Thunder Rosa at main event Dynamite, yonks ago in an unsanctioned match, and one or two here and there, but nothing has happened since. They haven't gotten any better, and it's just, I don't know what they need to do to fix it. I know they have Madison Rain backstage, and they have other people. Dustin is backstage, helping them book it, but it's just not getting through. Like they're too focused on the men's division. Tony's, obviously there's so much going on, and he's playing with so many fucking hands that they has to, try and keep everybody happy. But they need to do something drastically with the women's division. It just looks terrible. And I do hope that there is a women's match on the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. I'm presuming maybe Willow Nightingale will be defending that title. It should have been Mercedes if she hadn't been injured. It was probably going to be her defending it. So, I don't know who she'll be facing. Like, hopefully she gets a match. But again, will it be a token women's match in a men's only pay-per-view? It's going back to that cliche that WWE used to be like. It's you fucking, they're not brand panties matches or anything like that, but they're seem to be thought of in the same light there, where it's all about the men and the women just get 10 minutes just to say, oh look, we put a women's match on, you can't complain. So I feel sorry for the women on AEW at the minute, that they're not getting as much TV time as the men.
Yeah, and in terms of Forbidden Door in the coming weeks, I think Will Nightingale, because she's the New Japan Strong title holder, that means that more lends into the thought that the title she's going to be defending will likely be against an American participant, because New Japan Strong is purely for American audience. Yeah. So, and then I hope you could have 3 titles. You could have the World of Stardom title, you could have the IWGP Women's title, you could have the AEW Women's title, you can have the New Japan Strong. There's at least 2 or 3 of those you could have defended on the show. You could do a multi-man match if needs be. You can have Tony Storm against AZM. You could have I don't know, Riho against whoever the IWGP or Stardom.
Sorry, time's up. Sorry.
Every time.
As we book with Tony, the women only get 10 minutes. I'm sorry, ladies.
No, God. The man's world. Anyway. Number 4 is around AEW booking, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And your thoughts on it, Mr. Rush?
3, 2, 1. Well, lead in from the booking decisions from the women's division, because it's still shit. So, that obviously AEW, Ring of Honor, whatever. It's a man. Yeah, we said it just a minute ago. It's a man's world. There's so much going on in Tony Khan's mind at the minute. Like, there's no way he can do this alone. He's, first of all, he's the son of a billionaire, right? He was a wrestling fan growing up. That's fine. He's got Fulham. He's got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they've got AEW to focus on. There's no way in hell that he can do this alone. I don't know who else is in the background pulling strings for him or making decisions on matches or putting matches together. But it can't be. I know he keeps saying it's him. He's the sole person. He's booking everything. He's coming up with the matches and stuff. Like, he can't be. Somebody else has to be in charge. I don't know what's going on with the Bucks and Kenny and Hangman and their the Elite's contract decisions. I don't know. Have they any say in anything anymore? And obviously, if they were saying Being Elite, watch Being Elite every Monday in Ireland, 5 p.m. Irish time. It's not GMT at the minute because we're an hour ahead. So, yeah, Being Elite. But some of the booking decisions, you can tell he had no say in. There's some, I'm not going to name what they are because I don't want to bash the wrestlers involved in them, but some of the booking decisions are just pointless. Mainly it goes to Rampage or other shows that aren't Dynamite, but Dynamite, even sometimes Dynamite is, 1 week it's here, the next week it's here. There's no consistency with the booking decisions. It's like they have a backstage altercation and the next week it's a match. There's no lead up, there's no feud, there's no in-ring promo battle, there's no like personal fucking vendettas, the way you get home invasions or, you know, insulting your families or whatever it is. You know, you want to build up a feud properly. Like, you want to give it a few weeks to gradually turn into this big war that has to end in some sort of stipulation match. But like, somebody could bump into somebody backstage in an interview, you know, call them a fucking jabroni or something. The next week they're having, you know, a fucking barbed wire death match, you know, over a fucking a simple comment. Like, you know, you're not going to fucking do. I'm not sure if anybody's watching that show on Netflix, Beef. You know, it's spiraling out of control throughout every episode, but it's basically, it happens because they're in a car park and somebody flips somebody off, and it just turns into this big massive fucking beef that ends up in people dying and loads of shit happening. And I won't spoil it for people, but AEW needs something like that. You know, it happens in the car park or happens in the backstage area. They have an altercation, and you know, there's 10, you know, beef. There's like 10 episodes, so there should be like 10, maybe, you know, not 10 weeks of a feud, like, but there should be something, you know, going out and just giving us something else other than a 1 week fucking build to a match that you can't get invested in between two people who have probably already wrestled, you know, a million times in the past, and you've seen them a few times. So I don't know. It's just all over the place at the minute.
I'm going to disagree with you entirely. I'm going to think this is I think this is completely bollocks take from you. No. I think AEW is significantly better booked than any other program on television. There's only one angle across any other show on wrestling television that is anyway slightly better than anything AEW has. Raw is absolute dog shit. NXT is turgid. 90% of what you see on SmackDown is awful, bar one angle. Everything else is nonsensical, forced verbiage. It's nonsensical. It's not good. Now, AEW, Tony Khan. Tony's a gas man. Tony's just a sound lad who's got a shit ton of money, and he just wants to put on a wrestling show, and he loves wrestling, which is brilliant. Yeah. And the angles he does on a week-to-week basis are far more coherent, there's far more thought, and there's far more nuance in them than anything that does on WWE. Now, there's no double booking, there's no booking in regards to having the same match played out week after week after week after week as you have on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown every single week.
That hasn't happened for a while, though. They don't do that anymore.
They still do a bit. They're still... Yeah, they're still shit. Anyway, Tony also, every single show, will go out of his way to put on an absolute banger match, because banger matches, they don't need a story. This is wrestling. It's a competition. If you go to the UFC, if you go to boxing, not everyone has a story. You're building towards a title shot. You're building towards build up your own profile.
But in the UFC, they announce the match. They announce the fights months in advance. It's months in advance they announce the UFC fights. They don't announce a week later.
Yeah, that's only in the main event. If you look at the undercard of shows, not everybody gets that length of time. Some people only get a few weeks, cut a bit of weight. There's no
3
story,
no camps.
Not necessarily for everybody. But anyway, you got matches like this past week on Rampage. You had Bandito versus Takeshita. That was an unbelievable match, and that was the first time the two of them have ever faced off. I used to have them. If I were them, I would have them on every single house show going forward for AEW. The point where in a couple of months down the line, that's going to headline a pay-per-view or potentially a pay-per-view. Tony is very conscious and cognizant of what he's doing in terms of booking specifically luchadors and the Japanese audience. He's looking at additional audiences, particularly in the southern half of America, the west coast of the east coast, where there's a huge Latin American influence. That's why you're seeing like the Bandito, El Hijo del Vikingo. You're looking at Commander, and many, many more regularly appearing on AEW television result. You're also looking at matches like on AEW Collision. The best match across any programming this past week was Buddy Matthews versus Andrade El Idolo. That was absolutely incredible story that was told from start to finish. Andrade El Idolo also put Chris Jericho to shame with the best back elbow in the whole business. Yeah, and there's a reason why he's using it on Collision and wasn't allowed to use it on Dynamite. The only good difference between AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision this week, the only one difference is the show closing angle. It was in a lovely but dusty type finish where they did in the original AEW series. We got people running in from everywhere, causing a schmoz, build excitement for the shows ahead. We had the likes of Eddie Kingston coming down to confront Cesaro, or Claudio rather. Then you also had Will Ospreay then coming in to confront Kenny Omega. There's people flying here from everywhere. The Blackpool Comedy Club, as well as the Elite, building into huge angles going forward. Now, ideally, I think there must have been a fallout backstage. I believe this may be incorrect. I think the idea, the FTR CM Punk, Samoa Joe, and Bullet Club Globe match was originally going to build to something to do with Kenta, some sort of angle, but maybe an disagreement around finance or something and whatnot. Everything Tony Khan is doing is far more layered, nuanced, and structured than anything over in AEW or WWE, which is, as we know, by the seat of their pants on a weekly basis, particularly on Monday nights, that gets rewritten entirely an hour before the show. So Tony Khan produces the best weekly wrestling products across a number of different platforms each week now. Following on from that, the number one bad thing he did this week, we can talk about the women's matches and not giving them enough time. That's fine. I overall do think he's raised the platform of his women's division significantly from where they were year on year, month on month, from where they were when they first started. The AEW women's roster, when they had at the start, he says himself, they were very, very weak. There was a limited wrestler pool. WWE had every female wrestler under the sun in their books working in the performance center, not getting any reps as well. So that naturally, you're waiting for people to be upskill themselves, build their own profile, and so that's why we've got the likes of Anna Jay coming straight out of the Monster Factory. You got the likes of Ty Conti coming straight out of the performance center where she wasn't getting any exposure in NXT. He's building up people progressively and naturally. You've seen the likes of Sky Blue and Will Nightingale as well. But the number one take I had, bad faith take I have from this whole week, Luchasaurus, who's shit, beat Wardlow. Wardlow is a star. That's the one thing they've dropped the ball tremendously badly in AEW. Tony Khan's got a million plates he's spinning. You've got a lot of people who are politicking for their own guys to get ahead in different areas. The Elite being no worse than them, they do that for everything. They keep people down. That's fine. Likes of Wardlow, after he beat MJF, they should have capitalized. Instead of they kind of kept going with the Powerbomb sympathy piece for a while. Then he was doing things with smart Mark Sterling. Then he kind of got caught in a quagmire. Wasn't really doing anything that regularly. Did things with Powerhouse Hobbs, lost to Powerhouse Hobbs, but he should have moved on at that point. Powerhouse Hobbs should have been given the platform to progress and go further. Hopefully he will get that now with the Owen Hart Cup and AEW Collision. But Wardlow losing to Luchasaurus, I don't understand that he could have lost to Christian a couple weeks ago and had Luchasaurus the healer. Luchasaurus, he's part of the I don't listen to anybody, I don't like Billy Gunn Club. So listen, he's best friends with Jack Perry. He books all Jack Perry's matches allegedly. So again, not a fan of him. I don't understand why he's a prehistoric dinosaur. He's a fucking nearly 40-year-old man from California who wears a dinosaur mask. I got it when it was kind of funny and you're doing independent stuff and you're doing flips and dips. Oh yeah, I'm a dinosaur. I can also do flips. I can also do all the kicks. But now you're a heel and you're trying to be Kane, but your name's still Luchasaurus. Why don't you call yourself like Evil Dinosaur? Just something different. Luchasaurus.
Barney.
There's nothing at all that's related to Lucha Libre at this point. He's generic, boring, slow-paced heel. I thought it was dire last night. I also thought another criticism I had of the show was just the placement of this match. I didn't like how this is the second match after the show opening angle. Typically, you either do first match or you do first segment or second segment with your first match. It should be something that sets the tempo for the show. I would have had Andrade versus Buddy Matthews. I'd have had this typically where you would have kind of halfway point of the show, you'd have had this be like around the interval point, just to kind of because it's a TNT title match, but at the same time, the TNT title doesn't really mean anything anymore. The international title has easily usurped it, and over the years, you've had the likes of Ring of Honor title and many other titles have appeared in AEW programming, including the IWGP United States title. They all have more meaning than the TNT title, which is such a shame given where it was originally. However, hopefully TNT title or the international title can now be associated with one brand. Wardlow, please God, can now move on to work full time with CMFTR, and we got their own iteration of the 4-7 lads who just go out and batter people. That's my take. That's what I want.
And just in time.
Yes!
Just in time.
Yes!
Just in time.
Yes, we're back, baby.
You're
we're back
lucky.
In the game.
You're lucky you ran out of time.
Back in the game. We're back in the game.
Lucky.
Okay, and we're on to
number 5.
We're on to number 5. One Bill Phil.
1 Bill Phil. 3-2. 1 Bill Phil.
1 Bill Phil. CM Punk's entire week. So CM Punk, obviously in the lead up to this week, we're talking about the whole capsule week, not just what he did on AEW Collision, the whole week leading up to it. Everybody knew that he was going to be appearing on AEW Collision, but there wasn't a huge amount in terms of pushed across socials, pushed across even on Dynamite. There was one promo whereby he essentially said, I don't know what I'm going to do. You could see him lifting a few weights, doing a few battle ropes, didn't do an awful lot else. However, there was an awful lot more content film that was kind of dropped throughout Collision last week, and I think you're going to see that going forward, particularly on Collision, but you're not going to see that on AEW Dynamite. I think that's very much due to internal politicking. People who are inside a certain elite camp are not allowing to have too much Phil Brooks content on their TV programming. Now, going on throughout that week, then there was the Trigger Happy Brigade within the AEW or the wrestling media scoopster space. Suddenly it was leaked to them that there was an interview going to be coming out in the coming days with ESPN and Phil and CM Punk, that CM Punk would be saying some rather incendiary comments that it's going to be a shitstorm over this with ESPN, and it was going to be released on Friday. Now, that it was led to believe that it was going to be a video interview initially that was going to be released. However, then it came out as a written piece written by an excellent writer who's ESPN's lead combat sports writer and commentator, Mark Raimondi. He's absolutely excellent.
Unbelievably well written piece.
Really well written. Everything he does is incredible. It's very balanced, very measured. Now, there's a lot of bad faith takes across this article. He talked about his own experience, and he talked about his headspace at the time of Double or Nothing last year. He talked about his own headspace at the time, go on through it last summer. That is not, he did not say or call anybody anything. He did not say what he thought about NXT currently. He was asked about where his headspace was last year. He was asked about what was he thinking going into his match with Hangman Page. He was asked about what was the agreement before he did a promo package with Hangman Page and the Go Home Dynamite, where Hangman Page, having agreed and discussed what they're going to talk about, went completely off topic and completely through and broken a level of trust in his match. He then talked about, he did not call Hangman Page dangerous. He said, he commented saying that he was in his own head and he wasn't happy with his performance because he was worried. He didn't know if Hangman was going to intentionally go off script, try hurt him in the match. He accidentally got caught with a chop to the face. He said he was then in his own head. He was worried. Was that intentional? Will this go into a shoot? He did not say that Hangman Page shot on him. He did not say that Hangman Page took liberties and went into business for himself. He talked about his own headspace and his own perception around it. He did not call him dangerous. Did not say a liability to work with at any point. And there's so many bad faith takes in the internet. I'm in so many different wrestling writing groups that people are just going on rant and rant around. How dare you say this? How dare you say that? People are allowed to feel how they want to feel. You can talk about how you felt at a time particularly when you're doing a piece like this, when you're talking about retrospectively, how you felt at a time and trying to give justification and reasoning for why your behavior. He also talked about in the piece about his own background and talking about like his lack of trust going in life and things like that. Have all fed into the piece around Cole Cabana. He talked about his behavior and his instant regret of kind of going off that press conference. He talked about the very next day when he was talking to Tony Khan, he apologized to him directly. He talked about the months leading into that. He tried ad nauseum to try to sit down with all the parties involved, try to get a squash. Talked about legal proceedings. Yeah, listen, that didn't happen at all either. Tony Khan decided to ignore that or try to push it under the rug and hopefully it goes away. That obviously came back to bite them in the ass. And then following that, he then talked about he's tried to engage with certain parties as well following that and hasn't been able to. And like, listen, that's each their own. If you don't want to talk about somebody, you can be soft, you can not be a man and get over things. That's up to you, isn't it? Not particularly when it's just a bit of handbags backstage and nobody's actually heard either. So you can get over it if you want. But then CM Punk, our Lord and Messiah, the King is back, baby, then opened up AEW Collision, and there's a different tone, there's a different vibe, there's a different atmosphere. As soon as he appears on screen, when that hits, he comes out and you can see instantly, oh, he's in the mood. He's going to go off here now. He's not coming out and he's not crying like he was at United Center last time. Obviously not diving into the crowd anymore because he broke his foot last time doing that. But he came out. He had a bag with allegedly the AEW World title that he won previously last year. Obviously, I don't think it was actually in the bag now. But anyway, he came out with boots hanging around his neck as if to kind of symbolize that, like, this is what you want me to do. You want me to hang it up? He came out and he wasn't sure, even in his hometown, how he would be received. He thought a lot of people would be booing because the last time they were in Chicago, the Bucks went out of their way to troll him at every opportunity in their match. They were going along with the fuck CM Punk and making a fool of him for slipping on a buckshot lariat, doing every spot they could possibly imagine to get to have their fun. This is his fun with it now, outside of legal proceedings. This is what he was circumventing to talk about what he wanted. He called he said the CEO of TNT and Warner Brother Media called him One Bill Phil, referencing like he's worth $1 billion for them for the show, which possibly referencing the value of the upcoming TV negotiations over the 5-year period. Allegedly, AEW are going to get $200 million a year. He also then says that all your other wrestlers are known as counterfeit books, which allegedly to me makes it found out that, and he's probably right, that the people those people like are actually very fake people. They're false.
Soft.
They're not. They're soft as well.
Soft.
He said, if you think I'm owed an apology, if I owe you an apology, well, I'm sorry the people you like are so soft. And well, like, listen, if people are being soft, like, you can talk about your feelings all you want, but as Samoa Joe said in an interview only a couple of days ago with Sports Illustrated, men fight and men need to get over their shit.
Exactly. And CM Punk needs to get over his shit. Now, I'm not going to bash CM Punk. I'm a big fan of his. I've always been a fan of his. I grew up in the early 90s. Living Color was one of my tunes. Like that, when he got that in WWE, I was delighted. So I'll always pop for that song. The interview obviously is one-sided. It's his side of the story. In his promo, he shouted out, he's unapologetic and blah blah blah, even though he apologized to Tony Khan for everything that happened and tried to reach out to the Bucks. Presumably they apologized. I'm not sure. Nothing ever happened because lawyers stopped it. So if you're unapologetic, be unapologetic for all your actions. So he shouldn't have mentioned being unapologetic on the promo. I don't think. Besides that, the promo was excellent. Hype, obviously, he is the draw. Like, I don't care. He's the draw for AEW. He is what they have. They don't have anybody else who's going to pull in people like CM Punk. There is nobody. He's right in what he's saying. There's nobody like him in AEW. MJF is MJF. He's nowhere near the level CM Punk is or was, in his high days in WWE. Like, MJF is okay, like, but CM Punk has something about him that's going to make people tune in. That he's the one thing that is AEW has been lacking since he's been gone, is that outside, casual fan to come in. Everybody, outside of wrestling, a lot of people know who CM Punk is from movies, UFC, TV shows, stuff that he's done. People will tune in just to watch him. So Collision has that going for them with CM Punk. However, he is 43, 44, maybe 45. I'm not sure exact his age. So I don't know how long he has left in him, if he's getting so many niggly injuries at the minute. So, when you get to a certain age, these niggly injuries don't go away. They don't stay away. So I hope they don't put all their eggs in one basket with CM Punk, and hopefully, I don't know where the branch off is of who they're going to rely on if he goes out again. This is a very risky thing for Collision. It all obviously depends on the numbers. Viewership numbers is a big thing. They've got a contract regardless for 5 years. They need to, produce good TV. I'm sure they'll produce good TV, but they need to bring in the numbers. That's a big thing for any TV show. So if they're not producing the numbers, who knows what'll happen with Collision? Whether or not they patch things up, with the Bucks or with the Elite or whoever, and they have I don't know, is CM Punk going to be on Forbidden Door? Isn't, Kenta doesn't seem to think so. Are they teasing? Shouldn't they advertise it now if it is happening? Shouldn't that been something they could have done on Collision? Like, if they're having, Kenta could have come out. I don't know whether he was available to come out on a Saturday, like, but whoever his matches against in Forbidden Door, if he's having one, that was a perfect opportunity. So I think they missed the boat on that side, like you said, about not having no closing to the Collision that could have pinned on to something else. So yeah, but I'm happy to see him back regardless. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you saw even like in his actual match itself, like he was very careful. He always wanted to wrestle in the United Center, hence why he booked that match, and he was booked into that match in the main event, rather than just doing a promo like he did in his first debut at the United Center. So he was very careful in terms of the people he was working with, people he wants to work with going forward as a team with FTR. He's also building up their profile at the stars that they naturally are, being the best tag team who've ever lived, and then also working across the ring from having the likes of Jay White and Juice Robinson, who should be having a bigger platform, who are natural stars. And I think Jay White would be AEW World Champion before Double or Nothing 2024. And then Samoa Joe being repackaged opposite CM Punk as the monster heel that he is. And he was absolute beast. And
he was getting cheered by pretty much everybody.
Yeah, he got chopped the shit out of CM Punk. There's a few times throughout that match you actually see CM Punk enjoying himself. There's a few times he stepped off the apron. He was walking around engaging with the crowd. Like, to hear that chop as well. So CM Punk, as a booking strategist, a booking mastermind, I can't wait for what's going forward with his own storyline. I think we're all being worked. I think he'll have a match revealed next Saturday. Kenta will turn up in Toronto, give a GTS to CM Punk, and he'll fight him the next day at Forbidden Door. And I also think we're all being worked. And at All In, it'll be them against the Elite.
We won't find out until next week if it happens.
Oh
well, there you go.
Jerry Rush saved by the bell yet again.
Just like that. Just like that close. That close.
Just like that.
Almost to Shelton Benjamin. You were so close.
So close. So close. And that's all 5 talking points covered today. So listen, before we go any further, before I go to the judges' scorecards here and it's hot up and who cut the reveal, I want to make, on a weekly basis, I'm going to be asking one question to whoever I'm doing this with. And I'm also going to be asking one hypothetical question about a wrestling trope to each of you watching this program. For me, I'm going to be asking a question for you, Jerry Rush. What is one match you're predicting will be on the All In card?
Well, we already mentioned Omega and Ospreay, so I can't talk about that. As a dream, like, so for somebody who's traveling over there for, without a match being announced, on the anticipation, I have so many dream matches. Obviously it all depends what happens with Forbidden Door, but I'm hoping it's going to be CM Punk and MJF for the title.
Okay. So
that's the main event. I'm sorry, but that is the main event.
Perfect. Listen, and each week we do this, we're going to keep building on our own card and see by the time we get to All In how far off we are. And as the weeks go by, a lot of our previous predictions go out the window. But by the time we get to the end of August, we'll all have our own own prediction. My own prediction for one match that's going to be on the card, it's going to be Sting's final match, and it's going to be for the AEW World Title versus MJF.
No way.
That's my prediction. I think he deserves that platform. That's my prediction for it. Also, then for anybody lovely Irish wrestling and foreign wrestling and any sort of wrestling viewers watching this, each week I'll be questioning a wrestling trope that does my head in. Now, this question: why is there no disqualification in a triple threat match? And I'll caveat this: there may be 3 people, but the person who uses a weapon, why isn't he disqualified and removed from the match? If somebody could tell me that, that'd be brilliant. You can let us know in the comment section. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell us everything you want to know about All In. Why do you think me and Jerry are talking shite? Come find us. Come fight us if you want. We're more than merry for that. Jerry will have you removed and decapitated. Your knees will be gone. He's got a red button. He'll press that. You'll be done. Listen, like, share, subscribe. Tell us what you think. Do you think our 5 points are generous? There's so many more things we didn't talk about. We barely touched on Samoa Joe. We didn't talk about Adam Cole and MJF. AEW on a week-by-week basis, so many different things going on. Let us know in the comment section, what do you want us to talk about next week? Is there anything in particular we missed that you prefer we did talk about going forward? Do you think I'm an idiot? A lot of people do. I disagree. Do you think Jerry's an idiot? I personally do. Listen, we'll have many more people on next week. I mean, might be a slight change in format next week as well. But listen, as always, like, share, subscribe. Thank you very, very much.
Before we leave,
yep.
the judges' scorecards are in.
Oh.
No. Topic 1 goes to Mark.
Thank God.
Topic 2 goes to Mark. Topic 3 goes to Jerry. Topic 4, remind me again. Topic 4 was
Booking.
Booking goes to Jerry. Topic 5.
Bullshit.
Topic 5. Find out next week.
Oh, I will not be able to sleep for a week. Listen, oh my God, that's outrageous. We might need to bring in a third-party adjudicator going forward for this. I don't think my poor heart can stand it. And my sleep pattern might be able to handle this for the week going forward. Listen, Jerry, you're a slippery snake, and I will get you next week over this. He has that red button apart. Listen, thank you very much, everybody, again. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.